Great.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Hudson Public Utilities Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. We are going to start with roll call, please.
Alrighty, so Andy Hassan,
Here.
Joyce Hall,
Here.
Dave Preisel, Pat Nolan,
Here.
Susie Corum,
Here.
and Scott Snyder.
Here.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. First, we're going for approve of the July 9th, 2024 PUC meeting minutes. Do we have an approval?
Move to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Oh, thanks, Susie. All right, moving on, new business, discussion and possible action on the proposed building addition at the 1201 Livingstone Road. Kip?
Okay, so in your packet, we've kind of been busy with putting together 3 schemes that we thought would work, that we'd kind of like to present to the board tonight to get some direction on what you guys are thinking, kind of direction on what we want to go. I'm going to share my screen. I think that's going to probably be best. So let's see if we can get this. All right, so everybody can see that? Yay, nay?
It's tiny. There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah, there it is.
Let me try to move you guys off my page here and see what's going on. Is that better?
It's better now. It's
Okay.
much better now.
That looks good,
Okay.
Kip.
So on the call tonight, or on the Zoom, obviously, we've got a bunch of people from Elliott Architects and from Market and Johnson, who are the 2 that we had selected to go with this project. So I guess what we'll do, I'm just going to kind of lay this out real quickly, and then we can go through and talk about each scheme if we want, or if you guys just want to pick one, we can talk about that. You can see on the first page here, so scheme A, scheme B, and scheme D, we just did not actually add any budgeting costs to these. So you can just kind of walk through and see here on scheme 3, you've got a cost low range of a little over 3 million to a cost high range of 3.9 million. I understand that these are coming in a little, they are coming in higher than what we had anticipated. That is for sure. We were hoping to stick in that 2.5 million range, somewhere in there. This is for the 10,000 square foot building. So I think what we'll do, we'll just start with that scheme C. So you guys can kind of get an idea of what we're actually looking at. So this is scheme C. Everybody can see that, right? So you've got our existing building here with our existing shop in here. I wonder if I can get a better pointer on this. No, you're stuck with what I have. So this is adding 10,000 square feet to the east of our existing building with a overhead, or with a storage facility for the jet truck in here. If we go through okay, so here's scheme C. Sorry. So here's scheme C with the numbers that Market and Johnson is proposing. You can see that we go from a total construction and design of a little over 3 million to 3.9. The owner items are ones that we've kind of, pressure washing equipment, different things that we've kind of picked out. I do really want to talk about the alternates. So we added the alternates in there. The re-roofing of the existing building, the existing HVAC replacement for the existing building, the fire panel and the lighting replacement. That would just be in the shop area. for lighting replacement, but the fire panel would be our fire system for the entire building. We did talk about a new generator backup at this location. We would have some gate closures. We did talk about possibly roughing in some EV charging stations, and then add heat and insulation to the cold storage rooms. So by the time we're done with adding everything in, we're about 3.9, a little over 3.9 million on the low side to a high range of 5 million. So I guess, do you guys prefer to just walk through each scenario, or how do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about each one as we're going, or come back to them?
Kip, let's just start with this. You and I have already kind of talked about this a little bit, but out of these, what do you feel? I want to get your thoughts on this, on which ones you're looking at as far as, what we're going to grow into and what you need right now.
Well, currently what we need right now is Scheme E. That is a given. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 12 trucks that we can get in there. We would pretty much fill that building today with all of our equipment that we have. If we go back up here to Scheme E, which is 15,000 square feet, we go from a little over 4 million to a little over 5 million for a high range. And Scheme E is this. So we're looking at adding, a lot of extra spaces. We're actually looking at putting this to the north of the building, because we do have to have turnaround traffic in here for emergency services for fire trucks and different things like that. So we wouldn't really be doing anything to the existing shop area other than, adding a lift and, a couple minor modifications in lighting and heating and different things in there. But we would be looking at building, 15,000 square feet up here, which would add us 18 spaces. Plus we have this area right in here for the jet truck and for additional storage and things and additional vehicle storage and just storage at that. So this one, Scheme E, would definitely be a building for the future. It would serve our needs currently, but I believe that it would definitely, eventually we know Hudson's going to be there. So we could actually use that space. Now, if we go back up and we look at Scheme F, we're looking at about 5.8 million to 7.2 million, which is 25,000 square feet. So if we go to Scheme F, is this. So basically we would be adding, 25,000 square foot building. The existing cold storage that's over there, that is just a tin wood frame structure, that would actually be demolished and removed, and we would use that entire north area of our lot to build, kind of the vehicle storage up there. We'd be adding a lot of space. I think if that's the route you would wish to go, the utilities would be set forever. I think the utilities would do very well in this, in Scheme E. Scheme C. Scheme C is what we would currently need to house what we have today. So with that,
Kip,
okay, go ahead.
couple questions.
Sure.
And maybe this is already known, but in not this scheme, but second and the third one, yeah, that one and the larger one even, does that consolidate a bunch of other smaller buildings where stuff is stuffed in to get out of the weather, or does it bring everything into a central location to get it all out of the weather?
It's going to bring all of our vehicles into a central location. We obviously, we're not going to give up any space that we have. We do have some storage, some cold storage up on 8th Street that we do currently use. Obviously we're not going to give up any of that storage because and again, that is cold storage up there. So, anything that does require, any heat or anything like that, we can't park it up there. So, yeah, no, we wouldn't be giving up any other buildings.
But it would consolidate, and then, do you have a rough number that sits outside? or does nothing sit outside
Not
today?
right now, we've got a couple older vehicles that sit outside and things of that nature. Most of our stuff is uh very packed into certain spaces around town that we have. For example, we are parking the jet truck out at the well 8, which we're not a big fan of that. Um, we'll definitely use these spaces.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a given.
and then this would put, is any of that stuff that's stored inside today in cold storage, or is it all heated space?
Any of
The existing vehicles today that are inside,
well, the
is it a
existing
mixture of heat and cold, or is it all heated?
no, the existing vehicles today are stored inside in heated buildings.
Okay, they're all in heated.
Yes, the issue
Okay.
is that we are parking in, I believe it's 6 or 7 different facilities around town.
Right.
So staff is showing up to, their facility where their vehicle is parked, uh, and kind of leaving and doing their day from there. So they're not in the office. They're not, we can see them on a daily basis coming and going. I think, the goal of this of this building, when we bought this building, 8 years ago or whatever it's been now, was to get everyone together.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't want to have people all over town, scattered all over town. We've got equipment scattered all over town. It's just more of a consolidation, that we're looking for at this point. So
Does the water department share automotive mechanics, truck mechanics, or is it contracted out, or a mix?
most of our stuff, I mean, the only thing really that we have is pickup trucks. We do have a couple smaller pieces of equipment, but at this point, we do not share the mechanic.
Public Works.
Right.
Yeah, Public
He
Works.
does,
Fleet.
he will do some stuff for us. If we run into an issue where we need, tires changed or something immediately, they do help up, with things like that, but he won't tear into a motor or anything like that for us. Not at this point.
Right.
I know Public Works is discussing, possibly getting another full-time mechanic, or somehow they're working something with, possible mechanics at their new facility. Which then at that point, obviously we would utilize.
Sure.
Kip, what was the original budget for this that we were talking about?
About 2.5 million.
Okay, that's what I had in mind.
Yeah, we figured anywhere between 2.5 and 3, somewhere in there is kind of what we based everything off of when we were accepting proposals.
What
So
are we
again-
what are we currently paying right now, Kip, in the wintertime? What's our heating bill looking like over there?
Good question, Andy. I wouldn't know. Off the top of my
So
head. No.
I would assume it's pretty high. In any of these, have we looked? I mean, if we're expanding to 10, 15, 25,000 square feet, that's a big bill, especially with doors opening and closing and trucks going in and out. Are any of these proposals including with like a possible solar option to look at? I mean, if
That-
we're spending, when you start spending, $3 to $7 million, another 100 grand or whatever to put solar on to offset, I mean, I think that should be considered in this conversation if this is what we're looking at and we're spending that kind of money.
Yeah, we've actually talked about that, and I don't know if one of the guys that are on can maybe chime in on, where we're at and what we're thinking about that. We haven't got, basically all we're looking at today, Andy, is, we haven't dove real deep in the weeds. These are just rough figures, just so we kind of have, to give the PUC some options on what directions they'd want to go. We can look at some of the other schemes too. But yeah, I guess if one of you guys want to jump in on the solar thing, whoever.
Yeah, I can, unless somebody from EA Studio wants to. But this is Jeremy with Market and Johnson. And to Kip's point, I mean, we're relatively early here with trying to, typically we'd like to estimate budget ranges much tighter than what you see there between the low and the high. Those are pretty wide ranges, but it's just a kind of a a function of where we are at with planning and design. There's just not a lot of information there yet, specifically when it comes to mechanical and electrical systems. So those systems got to get designed yet. I think, you know, you're depending on how much building you put on the site becomes pretty limited for putting solar panels on the site, but certainly you got a nice big flat roof there where you could do something with. And, you know, I don't know if anybody's really looked too aggressively into how many we could get on there. We're just not there yet, but there's lots of options that you can that you can do there when you start adding that size of a flat roof.
It is a checklist on our, or it is a check mark on our notes, I guess you could say, to have that looked at for sure.
Yeah, because like I said, I mean, you get up spending, you know, like I said, 3, 4, 5, 6, $7 million. You know, you add solar in, that's going to be a drop in the bucket for adding on, but the savings over time are going to add up quite a bit. I don't know what, I'm curious to hear what some of the other members on the PUC are thinking about this right now. Joyce, Susie,
How would we pay
Pat.
for this?
It'd be 50-50 split between water and wastewater.
And would it be bonding or?
Well, a lot of that depends on what one you want to do. We do have reserve accounts that we could use for this, which was the original plan. But if we start getting up in the scheme F, I believe I'd have to definitely take a really closer look at it with finance to see what's going to be our best route. I don't know where you know loans are today on a project like this, you know, percentages, you know, percentage rates and different things like that. But I'm confident scheme C, you know, we can pay for out of reserves. I'm fairly confident scheme E, I know we can pay scheme E out of reserves. Scheme F, we could pay it out of reserves. I just don't know how low we want to drag our reserves to. So.
Pat, Susie, do you guys have some thoughts on this?
Well, if we are using reserves and we're going to be using a vast amount of the reserves, how do we replace the reserves and how quickly do we replace those reserves? And then I think the other thing that's on my mind is, as this starts to get more refined, is that total on the high end of 8.1 going to grow to, you know, 10.5, or what are we going to be looking at there? And then that gets to be a pretty hard number to swallow at some point.
Right.
It already is, you know, considering we were talking about 2.5 to 3, and now it's become something very different than that. And with that, I will say I support looking at the future and making sure that we're, you know, if you're going to spend 3.5 and not have something that's going to take us very far into the future, well, that's not wise either. So
Right.
I recognize all of that. It's just that the numbers came back so different than what we originally were speaking about.
And I'll kind of piggyback on that too, Susie. I agree 100% with you. They did come back higher than what we had anticipated. The scheme C was originally this scheme C was, oh, I don't know what I just did there. Sorry. The scheme C, I don't know what I did. All right. So scheme C, if I can get back to it. Let me find it. Hold on.
I think at first we just
There we
had
go.
the expectation that we would get, you know, let's get the trucks in the building and, you know, all of that. And then you probably, the more you start talking about it, you start thinking, well, okay, it would make much more sense to do this and this and this. And then, you know, pretty soon you're at scheme F. So
Yeah, so
I understand how that works.
yep. So, you know, when we talked about when we talk and we've talked about this for years, as we all know. You know, obviously it would have been hindsight would have been really great. And if we would have built this 4 or 5 years ago when we were first discussing this. I think, you know, costs definitely would have been down or less than what we're seeing today. And the reason that I added scheme E and F are future. I guess that's what I'm asking you guys, how far do we want to build something that is going to be 10 years, 15 years, and then we might have to add on, or do we want to build something that, is going to give us a, 40-year lifespan of growth for the utility? That's the reason that we went scheme C, E, and F. We just wanted to give you guys a range is what we wanted to give.
One of the things that I notice about schemes E and F is that you could start with scheme E and you could add on to it to get to F.
And that maybe Brian can talk about that or something.
Yeah, hey everybody. Brian with Studio EA. Although Kip started with Elliott Architects, which is which is funny because we haven't been
Some
Elliott
of us
Architects.
It's been a
for
while. That's my mistake.
About 5 years, but
That's
I
my
like that
mistake.
you remember that, Kip, for sure. I appreciate that. I think, obviously architecturally, we're looking at some different circulation models here, really. How we get through the site and get through the building and how we park the vehicles in the building. We did start with what really was kind of Kip's initial concept, which is really C, although we looked a
Am I
lot
still
at.
sharing? I'm sorry, Brian. Am I still
Yes.
sharing my screen? Okay. You guys can
Yes.
all see it. Okay, thank you.
Yep, it's
Sorry.
good. We looked at some ideas where, every bay has overhead doors and you kind of stack the vehicles. And there you go, Kip, right
Scheme
there.
B is
B.
that.
And so, we kind of explored all these options. This, to your point, Andrew, not very energy efficient, right? I mean, we have lots of overhead doors. And the stacking of the vehicles also not as efficient in terms of when people come and go. They might be stuck behind someone. They might have to back out. And so we kind of looked at those schemes and then ruled them out and got down to these three that we're discussing. Kip also wanted us to look kind of outside of his initial concept and what else was the potential for the site. And that's where we land on the other two schemes. And you're absolutely right. We could build this today, add on to it, and remove that existing pole shed in the back right corner, right? And still have room for expansion on this. There's other parts of this that we could take a look at and also expand on if we needed to reduce the cost. For example, and you have the pointer, Kip, but the whole top row of stalls, yeah, right there. I mean, we could pull that back, not put those in today. We would lose a lot of parking, but it would be a way to bring the cost back down, right? And so we could kind of phase the project that way if that was the desire. It would be more efficient and more effective to just build the whole thing right now. Like Kip said, right? I mean, you're never going to build it as cheap as you are today. So if this is what works for you right now and gives you a little bit of expansion space, then, I mean, this is kind of the sweet spot. The other thing I think that we really like about this plan is it leaves all the bays in the existing building, that 3,000 square feet, in place and usable with the overhead doors there, right? So if utility starts wanting to do their own service on a lot of their vehicles, those bays are there ready for that. You could put lifts in, you could do other things to pull service right there in that existing space.
Sorry to interrupt, just real quick. Kip, can you, so I do see on there is wash bay. So that is, the wash bay would be included on scheme E and F, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
And on scheme C, there is no wash bay. Basically, we would just be using our existing that we have.
Yeah.
Kip,
And Bra-
or the architects or engineers, quick question on when I see 14 spaces or 18 or 22, what size vehicles, kind of a uniform size, F-550 and smaller, or, a dump truck, small dump truck? You start getting larger trucks and allotting for that, or you're going to be having office in that building for nearly 20 years with Xcel Energy and knowing that existing footprint pretty well. But I'm thinking bucket trucks and digger derricks and larger equipment that Xcel had. But Kip, what's your class vehicle that you're looking at? A mix or pretty uniform?
No, it's going to be pretty uniform. I would say we're pretty confident. I can't really see us purchasing anything bigger than an F-550 at any point. The F-550 that we currently have, for the crane truck, that would easily fit in here. Again, the largest vehicle that we do have is the jet truck.
Sure.
And I don't anticipate the utility buying tractors and backhoes and dump
Sure.
trucks, and I just don't see us getting into that space. For one, it's expensive. We're understaffed. If we ever do decide to go that route, we'd have to add way more staff.
Sure.
To do our own breaks and different, projects that we have. I just don't see us getting to that point, at least as far as I can see in the future.
So
Okay.
how long do you think Scheme C would last us? And then how long would Scheme E last us?
Well, if you look at Scheme C now, so currently all of this space right in here, our current space, is full. There's 5 trucks sitting in there today. We would probably be using 3/4 of this space because we'd be bringing the generators into, different equipment that we do have, stored at different sites. So I'm going to say Scheme C, where we would fill that up pretty quick. I mean, it would work. Would it work for us? Sure. Yes, it would. It would be way better than what we have today. That's for
How
sure.
long would it work for you?
How quick is Hudson gonna grow? Are we gonna continue to grow like we are?
Mhm.
I don't know. I can't answer that. I wish I could, Joyce.
Yeah, okay.
Kip, would you say less than 5 years?
No.
Okay.
I think if this would probably get us 10 years would be my guess.
That was my guess too, Kip, about 5 to 10.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just guessing. Again, I have nothing to, go off of a study or anything like that. I'm just kind of guessing at what we currently have, what our current needs are, and then what the future is gonna hold.
And so does this plan, Kip, bring all those vehicles that you have scattered in?
Yes. Yes. Well, yes. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay, so Scheme E, you could expect that would probably take us for the next 20 years, probably.
Oh, easily, I would think.
Okay,
Yes.
so we
What's
really
the-
don't need Scheme F at this point. I mean,
Scheme
No.
F is let's call it the Cadillac. I wanted to, when I talked to, the guys that are on here, when I talked to Studio EA, and when I talked to Market and Johnson, we wanted to give options. We kind of went into this with, not a huge discussion on I knew what I was looking for, but we never really had a huge discussion with the board on what things would look like. And that's kind of where we're at today. We took my design, like I said, was the original Scheme C. This is what I had envisioned, when we started talking about this. And through the meetings with the Studio EA and Market and Johnson, like Brian said, I wanted them to be creative and see what else they could do on this site. I'm not an architect, so this is kind of what they came up with, which would, it's going to give us an extra 5,000 plus square feet, which is huge. And it also keeps these doors open down here, which is very valuable to me.
Why is it valuable to have those doors available?
Well, because you can always have individual vehicles in here. This can be our service area if we need be, things like that. If we go back up to scheme C, the yellow lines are the drive lanes. Okay, so yeah, I guess maybe I should have explained that a little bit better.
No, I figured that out.
Yeah, so the yellow lines are drive lanes. So basically, if we add on, to where these existing doors are, we'd have to open this up. We're gonna lose all of these except one exit door right here, or exit entry, however you wanted to do it. So basically we'd be coming through, we'd be driving in, we'd have a truck lift in here, north and south. All of this space in here would kind of be useless. If we got to get vehicles through here, we can't really be parking things in here. So, and then the same thing with this, we didn't want all these overhead doors lined up, on the north and south side. So you'd be driving in here, you'd be parking, and then you'd be backing out and coming out this way, or you could come out this way, if that makes any sense. So my scheme was good. Scheme E, I think, is better. In my
No,
opinion.
I think scheme E would hold us for a long time.
I think scheme E would hold us for quite a while.
And then if we needed to, we could add on to it.
You always
in
could
20,
add on,
25
because we would
years, but-
leave we would leave the existing building, and part of, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but part of scheme E, we are talking about adding gas out to here. There is no gas, so we would bring heat, and we would insulate that building out there to give us a little extra storage of heated storage in that current in that existing building.
What do you use the existing building for?
Right now the generators are parked in there. There's signs, barricades, hydrant parts. It's a catch-all.
Okay.
It wouldn't have to be heated though, for that stuff. Even the
No,
generator
well,
could be plugged in.
Sure, yeah.
For
currently-
tank heater.
Yep, currently you're 100% right. Currently it is not heated. We just thought as long as we're bringing utilities in, now is the time. If we're going to go with scheme E, now is the time. It's not much extra to throw some insulation in there and get some gas heaters, Modines or whatever we decide to put in there now, because and just give us that little extra space. Now if you go to scheme F, that eliminates all that. Everybody fall asleep?
Well, there's $1 million worth of alternates. Maybe we could hold off on the alternates for a while.
Well, let's talk about the alternates. So I'll just pull this one up here. It doesn't matter what scheme, because they're all the same. So we're talking about re-roofing the existing building that we currently have. In the last 2 years, we've had 3 leaks in this roof that we've had to have repaired. I'm assuming this roof is original to the building. I wish Scott was still on. He might have an answer for us there, but so we are looking at re-roofing the existing building. The existing HVAC in the existing building I've had nothing but issues with it. That was the Siemens product that Excel put in exclusively to Siemens. So getting parts and even just being able to control your heating and air conditioning is a nightmare. Every single time every time we get a power flash, I have to go back in and reset all my heating and all my air conditioning set points, just so the building runs, because it goes back to a default.
Factory setting.
Yeah, it just goes back to a default. The fire panel that we have in here is old. It's for monitoring, the entire building. The new generator, we do have a generator here currently. The only thing that generator runs is a few outlets in the building. So we can run, our computers and things, but the new generator does not run the heating and air conditioning system. It's not big enough to do it. So we would be looking at, providing a new backup generator for this facility, just in emergencies, summer, winter, when we need heating, air conditioning. The gate closures obviously would have to be done, depending on what we do. They're old, they don't work very great. And plus the one on the south side of the building, it'd be this one down here, it's a one-way only. You can't get in and out the other way. So that would have to be changed. Where else are we? Electrical service, we talked about possibly adding some EV chargers. We're just talking right now about maybe just getting them wired in. We don't know if we necessarily have to add the chargers at this point. And then, for 100,000, we were looking at the insulate and add heat to the cold storage. So yeah, I mean, if regardless of what we want to do, I think these alternates need to be very seriously looked at. Like I said, the roof for sure, HVAC for sure.
Kip,
We're looking at stuff that's getting 30 years old.
So Kip, I agree with you. And at this point, obviously it's a much bigger discussion, I think. But, if we're spending this kind of money, like I agree with Susie, Joyce, and Pat on this. I mean, it sounds like we're doing everything probably to the existing building besides tearing down the bones of it and the structure. It sounds like it needs quite a bit of work then in that case. But I think we need to also look at again, I know I brought up solar at the beginning, but we got to find ways to somehow overcome some of these indirect costs that are going to be coming around. I mean, you had that kind of square footage, and now you're talking about running gas to that other building.
Right.
I mean, I think we need to seriously consider looking at a solar option at this to offset some of that cost, because having that big of a building, I mean, the upfront cost is a lot more than what we talked about, but then the reoccurring cost to keep that thing up and running is going to be substantially larger.
Yeah, so kind of what we're again back to what we're kind of looking for today is a direction from the board. Are you guys comfortable? Do you want to go, the prices that we're getting, these are very large ranges. We're looking at possibly, $1 million between one and the other. So what we need to do at this point is kind of go, okay, we're going to go with scheme C, or we're going to go with scheme E, or we're going to go with scheme F. Then that way, the guys that are on, they can start putting fine tuning things way better than what we're seeing today. These are very ballpark numbers.
Yeah. So I would say my recommendation would be, let's look at scheme E. I think that'd be something to grow into. Pat and Joyce and Susie, do you guys want to weigh in on your thoughts too?
Well, I think the layout of E makes the most sense.
It
Yeah,
does.
I agree.
That was exactly what I was thinking. The layout seems logical.
I
Joyce?
mean, there's stuff in here that we can, the overhead crane, do we really need it? No, we're going to get it from, across the street from the police department and things. So, I mean, there's stuff in here that we can definitely look at, when it comes to cost wise and things like that too. I'm sorry, go ahead. Whoever was Susie.
No, it was somebody else.
Joyce, did you have a thought on this?
No, I'm leaning towards scheme E, that would help the city, or last the city for quite a while.
Okay. So yeah, Kip, it sounds like everybody's kind of in agreement, like scheme E.
Okay.
Let's dig in on that a little bit more.
Okay.
I would like to see like an energy option provided as well, just to see what that looks like.
I agree with
And
that.
then, yeah, and I,
Is
the writing's on the wall.
Is in-floor heat already figured into this, or what is it just heaters? What are we looking at right now?
A great question. This is Jeremy again with Market and Johnson. You know, we didn't get into those details quite yet with systems design, but what we had budgeted just for general HVAC costs would not be in-floor heat, especially not for that whole space. That would add a substantial amount to it, and it's something we've not typically seen in a similar type of building. For example, we did Menominee, for example, for their public works garage, but um, it's certainly an option. I don't know that there's a lot of necessarily energy efficiency there with it unless you can combine it with some geothermal or something like that. You just probably don't have that room on the site, but you know, all those options are stuff that's going to get discussed here as we move through design a little bit further. And really, like Kip was saying, what we need is some kind of direction to, you know, have Studio EA kind of start to develop design on one of the options versus all three, right? And then as they add that more detail to that option, we can start really trying to tighten up that budget range. And if you know, if you're telling us that, hey, that upper range really isn't an option for this for concept E to be able to do it, we got to look at the lower half of that range. You know, that gives us some direction now, both us and Studio EA to you know, make sure we're efficient through those designs. But at the same time, if you're working on that bottom half, then you're probably not getting in-floor heat in there, right? So that's kind of the direction I think everybody's looking for from the city is you know, what concept you want. And you know, if we got to work on one half of that range or the other, then that's what we need to know.
Yeah, I think we're good with you guys digging in on scheme E. And then kind of like what we said, we would be very interested in a solar energy solution if you guys can provide something like that, and see what we can come up with, because like I said, we'll have to figure out a way to offset all those indirect costs.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of clients are just like you, and they're looking at the, you know, long-term cost of the building, not just the upfront. So totally get that. We can do some digging on that and definitely both pull some numbers together here for the next budget.
And I know we did talk about, you know, natural lighting options. You know, we've got a whole list of things that we kind of talked about, and that, you know, I kind of directed the two to look into a little bit more. And like Jeremy said, you know, we'll get to that. We just needed today what concept what road do we want to go down today?
E it is.
Okay, so E.
You need a motion?
No, I don't. You can make one if you want to make it official, I guess, but
I'll make the motion that we direct Kip to and the outside vendors to explore scheme E.
We got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll drop off.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right. Am I still sharing screen?
You are.
Okay, hold on. Let me try to stop this. I need to stop it. Oh, stop share. There we go. All right, y'all back?
Yes, sir. All
All
right. Thanks,
right.
Kip.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's a lot, but that's I'll be interested to see what you guys come back up with.
Yeah, we'll come up with something for next time. So
Okay. 3.2, discussion and possible action on the SEH proposal for full service design, inspection, and contract administration services for the reconditioning of the interior and exterior of the city's water storage tank, Deer Path.
okay, so next 2025, we are planning on doing a complete recondition on Deer Path, which is the furthest tower to the north, up in the village. So it is due for a complete rehab. In the packet, I do have the exhibit from SEH to basically take that project from start to finish, including the design of everything, the carriers that are up there that have to come off to coordinate all of that work that has to be done. You can kind of, well, here, I'm going to share again. That's probably a little easier. All right. You can see that?
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, just a tentative schedule, you know, on what we want to work for. The reason that we start these projects now is part of our lease agreements with the carriers is that we need to give them at least 6 months notice when we are going to require them to come off of our tower. It gives them time to, you know, get all their stuff set up, when they're going to move, how they're going to move, how long they're going to be off of the tower for, and then to set it back to where they can come back on the tower once everything's done. So that's kind of why we start a lot of these projects now. We get everything set up and designed with what we need, and we're hoping to get this out for bid end of the year, you know, sometime in December, early January. So when we expect to get a little better pricing from the painting contractors on this. So that's why we're starting it now. So the proposed cost of engineering services that SEH is proposing for this is $153,500. That does include the telecom tenants, the $12,600 to work with the telecom and work through all of everything that they're going to have to come off and go back on. So we would be looking for an approval on the SEH proposal of 12,500, or I'm sorry, 153,500 for the reconditioning of the water tower next year.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Questions?
I'll move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody. Next one, 3.3, discussion and action on change order number 2 for the North Street project. Yep, might as
Okay.
well toss that up on share screen as well too.
Yep. Okay. So change order, this is basically for a change order that we had. It's a total change order of $121,917. If you go through and read, we kind of ran into a bunch of stuff with the railroad that if you ever worked with the railroad, Pat, weren't you a railroad guy?
39 years.
Well, you guys are
Well-
impossible to work with. I'm going to
Well,
tell
they're
you.
pretty touchy because there's that continuous welded rail, you know,
Yeah,
if it gets
so-
disturbed.
So a lot of the issues that we ran into are you can only be so far from a track. There's all sorts of things. We had to set up to where we monitor the track. And when we went through that whole process, basically we ended up doing a jack and bore under the track, got that through, all that kind of stuff. And then when we were going to open cut on Bridge Street, this is all in the north project. When we were going to open cut for the installation of the water main on Bridge Street, the railroad pretty much could put a kibosh on that and said, you know, we can, but we had to jump through a ton of different hoops. So instead of doing that, we actually just directional drilled that section in, which shortened up the entire railroads, you know, what they need to be out there for and different things like that. So change order 2 is putting in some directional drill water main. You can see up here that we actually got a little credit on the bid item, and then the jack and bore, part of the casing that they went through when they were jack and boring under the railroad track. They actually ended up hitting some rock. So you get charged for the rock that they had to go through. They had to go through, put on different bits and different things like that. There's some mailbox adjustments in here. The HDD 14-inch HDPE water main, that is for that directional drill that we did. And then you just got some mailbox adjustments, some sanitary lateral investigations. So the total change order is 121,917. So we do need a motion on that.
Anyone have any other questions on this, Pat? You know, you're the railroad guy. Do you have any questions on this thing?
Well, I just like to make the comment, if an investor-owned utility crosses the railroad right away, maybe overhead or underground, a lot of times they have to pay an annual rent or fee, like we charge for the cell antennas. But because we're a municipal and we're not for profit, I guess they don't. There's no annual charge.
You're saying we're missing out on money here. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh,
They're kind of
he's-
being. No, I said
he's
they're
saying-
being nice.
He's saying
kind
that we should pay the railroad more money.
No, I mean they're kind of because if it would be. So they're kind of being nice. They could charge an annual fee for
I
rent
see,
for going
I see.
over or above.
Hmm.
And they do to investor-owned utilities that are for profit, and I think they're kind of easy on cooperatives too. But so they're touchy, but we're
They're
not.
very-
We don't have to. Yeah.
I've come the rest of my career. I do not ever want to cross a railroad again. That's what I've come to after this project. So
All right. We are looking for a motion to approve the North Street project change order number 2.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
Thank you, Susie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody. 3.4, action on pay request number 4 from Pember for the Lake Malibu project.
So in your packet, I'm not going to pull this up, but yeah, we have a pay request number 4 for Lake Malibu project for $68,620.49. That pretty much wraps up the majority of. We'll have one more pay request more than likely come in, but pretty much we're down to about saving our retainage at this point on that project. So once
Great.
this pay app is approved, that project. There will be a little bit left at the end, but not much.
Okay. We got a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys. Let's see here. We are on 3.5, action on North Street project pay application number 4 from Pember.
Okay, so again, in your packet, there is pay application number 4 from Pember for the North Street project that they are doing. That payment app is in the amount of $352,781.02. Again, we're wrapping that project up. Asphalt actually went down this week, the first layer of asphalt. So once things start to turn black, we know we're getting close. You can see in your packet there that the original contract or the total construction funding approved was 1.6 million for that project. Total contractor payments to date is about 1.2. So we're closing this one out too. So and we are on track for that.
Any questions on this one?
Move to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And it's approved. Thanks, everybody. 3.6, discussion and action on the second amendment to land lease for T-Mobile on Carmichael Water Tower.
Okay, I will share this just for everybody, just so we can all see what it is. Okay, so basically what you're looking at now is it's a land lease that we have with all the carriers on every one of our towers. So when these become due, they send it back to us. We go through it. We kind of negotiate back and forth with the carrier. You can obviously see, rent in here. We did not really give anything up on this one. We didn't give anything up, as a matter of fact. So basically what this does is it just re-ups their lease again. They do have the option to, so this would start on October 2nd, 2026. And they do have the option to extend for up to 9 consecutive one-year periods if they want. But it also does a 5 additional successive 5-year terms. So basically it's about a 25-year lease that we're signing today. The reason it's in front of you, I went through it, was working with the carriers on this, but we do have, this is authorized by the Public Utility Commission, so Andy would have to sign this one. So that's why it is brought to you for approval.
Kip, I know
Yeah.
we've looked at these in the past. Have we ever made changes that we would want to incorporate into this one?
No,
No.
That you recall, like anything that we've done before that should be done now?
these are pretty much, if you read one,
Yeah.
you're reading all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're all very the same. I mean, some of the language might be a little bit different just depending on their attorneys that are writing it.
Mhm.
But when you get down to, you know, the payments and different things like that, that all is very close. I think we might have 1 or 2 that are at 3%, that have been at 3% forever, but the majority of them are at a 5% escalator. So yeah, there really isn't much to add to these. It's just re-upping everything again.
Yep.
Okay.
Motion to approve on this?
Move to approve.
We have a
Second.
second? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's approved. Kip, I'll make sure I stop in and get that signed for you.
Yeah, otherwise, Andy, I did send that to you PDF in your email.
I
If
did.
you can electronically sign it and just email it back to me. That
All right,
works.
cool.
Yeah,
I will do
if
that.
that's easier for you.
Sure. Project updates, project status report.
Okay, so in your packets, you've got the wastewater treatment facility plan. I actually have a meeting next week on that, so I will be getting an update on where we're at with that. The utility service center addition we discussed tonight. The Lake Malibu water main crossing is about 90%. 95%, like I had discussed, you know, that project is pretty much wrapped up. A couple little minor things that are needed there yet. I'm hoping by our next meeting, that project should be done. The Northwest Utility Improvement Project, we discussed a little bit, the blacktop head went down, which is always a great sign. That means that we're getting to the end of it. They will be doing the final coat of blacktop next week, and restoration will be starting shortly after that. So I'm hoping by our next meeting, the North Street project is also wrapped up.
Awesome. Any questions, anyone? All right. Other business for informational purposes only or for an upcoming agenda?
The only thing I had, I thought, did I put it on there? Where's my, oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to be available for our September 10th PUC meeting. Do we want to move that to the 17th? That's the following Tuesday. Does that work for everybody?
Or at least for me.
Mhm. Yep.
Susie, okay? Pat?
Yep.
Yeah, it's fine for me too.
Okay, so I will move that. I'll just make the changes and we'll just move it to the 17th then.
Okay,
Yep, that's all I had.
great. Sewer utility, water utility cash report.
Those are in your packet just for your review.
Okay. Discussion and possible action on claims.
Move to
Utility
approve.
payables. Got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Move to adjourn. Second.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
I thought you were.
That's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great
Have a
week.
good night.
Take care.